The greatest podcast in the world. The greatest podcast in the world. Look at the boy bands.
Friday nuts.
Rules that were available. Rules that were available.
Friday nuts.
Rules.
Look at the boy bands.
Rules that were available.
Portly Gentlemen's Podcast.
G'day, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we are coming at you from the flaming wreckage of a Boeing 747, broadcast from the lawn of the Pentagon. The incident that set the wheels in motion for how the world was to be for many years to come. That's right, tonight we're talking about the aftermath of the War on Terror. From Osama bin Laden to the mysterious red-haired, six-fingered giants of Kandahar. That's right, tonight's topic, the 9/11 conspiracy. Part 2. So unsheath your box cutters and let's storm the cabin as we get ready for the next installment of the Portly Gentlemen's Podcast.
Wait, so 2 great albums came out as a result of the War on Terror, right? There was an Anti-Flag album, which is like, I think it was fucking The Terror State or something, one of those albums. And or For Blood and Anyway, there was also The War on Errorism by NoFX. So
I thought you said good albums, dude.
Yeah, I knew you would fucking call me.
Oh,
you're a dick.
That's embarrassing.
You're a dick. They're great bands. So in keeping with that kind of style, in considering we're talking about like post 9/11, I've decided to go with a bit of a more of a punk this evening. We're talking about the war on terror, the war for an error. You know that they didn't like it. Well, they went over there for 20 odd years. Spent a lot of money, and they're coming back broken and bruised. Everybody knows who loses. Ain't no winners in war, but there's a winner on Friday night. That's a Portly Gentleman Podcast coming at you. Keeping it live and keeping it true, oh yeah. Portly Gentlemen, doing it right.
Right.
All right.
That's one biggie.
Who wants to kick it off? You gonna kick it off, CK?
Yeah, so I suppose I just wanted to maybe we need to do like a little bit of a recap.
So,
before we start, nice Obama bin Laden in the intro there, CK.
Yeah, right. I'm glad you picked that up.
Call back to your last episode. Dude.
Yeah. Oh, dude, because it's so hard to
It's impossible not to.
But also,
That is like, there's got to be that conspiracy out there, right?
yeah,
I feel like that Osama is Obama.
There's a conspiracy for everything. Like, I'm sure that's one of them.
Yeah.
Like, it's the whole birth certificate thing. Like, he actually came from a Muslim country, and I don't know.
Yeah,
I'm sure
that's it. Yeah.
But yeah, like first, I suppose, like just like quickly to go through, like the last episode was basically about the actual day of 9/11, and then moving forward, we kind of we got to a point in the last podcast where we really were starting to talk about the results of 9/11 and like the things around that. So
Yeah, the aftermath.
Yeah, the aftermath.
The repercussions.
That's almost just as crazy as the event. Like you look at the deaths alone of Americans in Afghanistan post and how many did we say died in the terror attacks?
25,000, but that's including all the people who died from like asbestos in their lungs and fucking silica.
All right. So there's been
I think it was only a couple of thousand on the day.
I think it was like 1,000, 2,000, something like that.
Yeah.
There's
2,000.
been 900,000 people die in Afghanistan, like Americans die in Afghanistan.
What? How many?
900,000. I read today.
900,000.
Yeah, so they
it's
estimate
phenomenal, bro. Yeah,
they estimate 2 million.
it's almost
They estimate 2 million if you include, but like it depends, right? Depends on who, like what source.
but
you're
like
getting it from.
those numbers are quite low because they're only counting people who've died there, right? If you then include all the dudes that come back from over there with like massive cases of PSTD and end up
PSTD, PTSD, yeah.
PTSD,
STDs.
Yeah.
Mind you,
They came back
that
with
was a bit.
PlayStation syndrome, testicular divorce. Yeah. No. So, but like, yeah. So a lot of the numbers like real skew with as well because they're talking about combatants.
Yeah,
So like people that died in combat, like what you were saying is like people that died while they were there, including enemy combatants. But then if you look at, and actually where I kind of wanted to start this off was talking about, so obviously we're coming up to the, like we've just been through the 20th anniversary of 9/11, and a big part of that whole thing is the withdrawal, like the most recent, like we just, for the first time in our history, like, you know, since I was fucking born.
yeah, dude. There are guys that I work with have only ever known there to be a war between America and Afghanistan occurring.
Yeah,
and
so
there's started.
There's
because of
fathers and
9/11.
sons that have both served in the same war.
Yeah, that is insane.
Yeah, it is fucking truly insane, man. So 20 years on, and then like, yeah, where do you? At what point do? Like, where I feel like we all stopped looking at it.
I don't know if a lot of people did, man. I think a fair few people are still, you know.
Fuck yeah, dude. I would 100% agree with that. It's just something that's happening all the time. Like it's not something you even think about. Yeah.
Yeah, like unless you know people personally that are still going to and from, that still have engagement stuff. Like I've got mates, like my mate that's still in the army that still goes over there from time to time. That I've talked to, and it's like, yeah, you know, so I'm present. Like it's more present for someone like me who does have someone who's going back and forth. And I imagine in certain places, like in like military towns, like Townsville, it'd be more apparent for them that it's an ongoing conflict and has been for a long time. But for a lot of like general population who have no contact with military personnel, it's just something that's going on and it's in the periphery sort of thing. Like it's no longer on the news every night. Like it's no longer like,
that's 20 years, bro. Like, how could it be on the news every night? Like, the news has moved on. So one of the things I wanted to talk about in relation to that is, so like with the withdrawal, you know, obviously like Biden copped a lot of shit for pulling the troops out of America. But the reality is like this has been planned for a long time. Like Trump ran on getting
the troops
out of Afghanistan. That was literally one of the first things that he talked about, and it was one of the reasons why he fucking won. And like people can shit on Trump all they want, but his anti-war stance was one of the things that got him into power. Like you can say that he didn't do it, or you could, you know, there's a lot of reasons to be like annoyed at Trump or whatever, but that is actually genuinely one of the things that got him into power was his stance on these wars. And so he worked on through his presidency a deal with the Taliban, and I think it was 2 years ago now, so whatever, like 2020, he brokered a deal, and obviously it's not him, it's his like whatever consulate members, his people on the ground.
If I know Trump, mate, it would have been him. He would have been on the ground telling them.
I'm here making a deal. Did you see how great the deal that I made was? I
got a great deal.
I got a great deal.
You guys are going to want to hear my deal. It's a great deal.
And I said, hey, this is the best deal ever. Well, I heard there's a hilarious comedian I watched do this bit about like the only way to do Trump is to like say what you're gonna say and then say it. He's like, So I walked in this room and I said, I just walked into this room. Like, oh, it's Trump.
It's very true.
But yeah, so he brokered a deal with the Taliban where they brokered this deal for ceasefire.
Yeah.
So and that's been working. Like there's been no like fucking like actual action, like conflict in Afghanistan since that deal was brokered. And then obviously it was quite contentious, so between the left and the right in the US or whatever. And so as soon as Biden got in, he was like, we're not doing that. So the deal was for I think May 5th that they were going to pull out completely, because that was the condition that Trump had negotiated with, was pulling out on May 5th. I think it was 5th. I could be wrong about that, but I know it was May. And so, but because of American politics, Biden was like, no, we can't do that because then that would be Trump's thing. Let's do it on September 11th.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
That's so fucked. Like, why would you choose that date? Like, hey, guess what, guys? 20 years ago, someone randomly from your country decided that they wanted to attack America.
Not from your
country. At it for 20 years. Like,
from a different country.
Yeah. And so anyway, it gets up to May 5th and the Taliban realized that actually like Biden has changed his mind and he isn't going to fucking do anything. And the whole reason why they were choosing May 5th, a big part of it, or at least this is what some people say, is because that's the end of the fighting season. Because like in Afghanistan, it like gets fucking bullshit cold or whatever. So for like a part of the year, you just like cannot fight. So like May 5th is the exact right time to pull out, because basically there's no fighting can be done then. You're like in the depths of the non-fighting season.
Yeah, okay.
And then Biden comes in and is like, nope, September 11th. So we time rolls on and fighting season starts again. And straight up the Taliban are like, no, you guys said you were going to do this. We're not going to attack you because we believe that you're going to stick to your part of the agreement, but we're going to take back Kabul. We're gonna take over the country, just like we always knew we were going to. And so then they go in and take over. So this basically leads up to all of the and like while we're talking about this, Mick, do you want to see if you can pull up on YouTube the Kabul airport US withdrawal? There's a guy falling out of off a plane.
Oh,
what
yeah.
the hell?
So it gets messy, right? And like, I don't have like an opinion on this either way, like, because basically my opinion is we should never have fucking been there in the first place. So, for me, seeing this stuff, it's like, yeah, it's terrible, but is it as terrible as the, hundreds of thousands? Tens of thousands of lives lost? Hundreds of thousands for sure.
Dude, 900,000 combatants.
Yeah, and I'm pretty sure that's a conservative estimate as well, but
oh, it definitely would be, bro. Definitely would be. And there'd be massively larger amounts of civilian non-combatants that are getting killed off and just like, no, we're pretty sure they had a gun or they were in a complex with terrorists. Like,
yeah, so this is where I kind of wanted to go through, get to with this opening bit is just so as the withdrawal comes to a conclusion, and everybody's supposed to be out of there. Are you watching porn in the background, Michael?
No, definitely not.
His porn doesn't have classy music like that.
Yeah, that's right.
As
it's all cam footage, mate.
Wait, the cam stuff's the best.
Let me look at this. R rating.
Here we go.
Yeah, so this is
Oh, what we're seeing is people literally holding onto the side of an American. I don't know what kind of plane that is, but
like a Hercules or something.
yeah, some giant fucking American jet, and there's multiple people hanging onto the side of it.
Yeah, it's pretty. I mean, it's crazy, but like, of course, it's going to be crazy because they know that they're going to get fucking murdered if they're left there.
Yeah, but the thing is, nobody's been murdered, or not nobody, but like it was peaceful. I mean, it was peaceful, bro. This is the thing, right?
Oh.
Shit.
Yeah,
Those people are falling to their deaths.
yeah.
I didn't need to see that. Why did we watch this?
You told me to look it up.
Yeah, dude.
Now
What the
everyone's
hell?
seen it. All right.
That's a downer.
Look, so this happens, and everybody kind of says Biden should have done something different. And yeah, absolutely. They should have stuck to the deal that Trump struck, and they should have left on May the 5th. But he didn't because of American politics, and he wanted to make himself look good and have like why 9/11? He wanted to leave on fucking 9/11 so he could have this glorious moment of Freedom Day and say on 9/11 we gave the Iraqis freedom, and on 9/11 they came and gave us terror, but we gave them freedom. Like yay America,
Yeah.
Fucking
It wasn't. They didn't actually. I thought they left before 9/11, didn't they? It was like
that's right, because the Taliban got the shit and was like, nah, we stuck to this. Like, we're gonna go in and look, honestly, like, and the thing that you said about getting holding onto the side of a plane or being killed, it's just not true, man. That's just not happening. Like, there's no mass killings. Like, yes, some people have died, but overall, basically, they walked in. The Iraqi, US-backed Iraqi government just put down all their weapons. There was 36, I think it was 36 Black Hawk helicopters that they just left there. They left hundreds and hundreds of armored vehicles.
Yeah.
They basically armed the Taliban.
Yeah, that's right.
You know what I mean?
Which, I mean, they did in the first place anyway. So
Yeah, I mean, yeah, they've done it before. They'll do it again. Like,
yeah,
it just seems like this. Either it's a massive tactical error, which I don't see genuinely happening, because, like, realistically,
I mean, also CK, like you gotta kind of like, you might not be hearing about any murders that potentially could be happening over there as well. You know what I mean?
Oh no. So you're right.
Like people wouldn't just be hanging on to planes if that wasn't a possible outcome. You know what I mean?
And Nick, look, I could for sure, I could 100% be wrong. However, there is Western journalists over there still that are allowed to stay there and report on everything that they see.
Yeah. Okay.
So, like, I don't know why they wouldn't be reporting on it. Like, they're like solid war journalists that have been doing that for a very long time. Like, I don't know why they wouldn't be reporting on that if that was the case.
yeah.
But you know what? I think that it was more like the people were worried that was going to happen.
Yeah.
Because obviously, like, whether it's real or not, if the fear is there that that's going to be the case, it doesn't really fucking matter.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that takes us kind of up to the point that I wanted to talk about, which is basically in the last, like the final days of that, there was a terrorist attack, not by Al Qaeda, but it was by like ISIS-K is what they were calling it. The guy that went in with the bomb into the airport in Kabul killed a bunch of US Marines and civilians as well. He'd been held for 20 years by the US in prison and was like just released.
Yeah. Wait,
So, like,
he was held by the US in Afghanistan.
I believe so, yes. And then was just released because like the US had fucking bailed, and then was like, well, I'm gonna go and try and fuck up the last of the US. That's
I'm not surprised that he did that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it seems like a no-brainer, man. So all these things that, and the reason why I wanted to talk about that was because it's like it gets to this larger point of people trying to look at this through a lens of like ideology, like it's our ideology of freedom and open communication and dialogue versus, you know, these Islamic terrorists and all. They hate us. That's why they're doing this. But yet that guy who just fucking, the last bombing that happened, or at least up to now, whatever, the last bombing that happened there from like the enemy was done by a guy who was just held for 20 years. So it's like, well, is he motivated by his God? As like, as you know, trying to wage holy war, or is he motivated by politics?
I'd say there's some pretty strong politics in there. Like,
Well,
regardless of what your belief, somebody without religion is just as likely to behave that way as somebody with religion.
Yeah,
like,
I believe so.
It's very much a.
But wait, it gets better. So in reaction to that, the US does its final drone strike that we know about and publicizes it. And they say that they killed the people that were responsible. Well, it turns out that there was a guy that they were surveilling, and they could see his ute going to a bunch of different places. It might have been a van, actually, going to a bunch of different places.
Yeah.
And then it went to this one place, and there were some drums there, and he started filling something up from the drums. And this was quite close to Kabul airport. And so they then drone striked the car. And so that drone strike killed 10 civilians. The only people that were killed was 10 civilians. Out of those 10 civilians, 7 children.
What was he? What was he doing?
There was no running water because of the bomb the previous day. So he was going around collecting water from his neighbors.
That's
pretty fucked.
So, like, my thing is, like, then who are the real terrorists?
Yeah.
Like, at this point, and like, we're not talking about the entire rest of this, which we'll get to, because like, but I think that this is a really good example of how this entire thing is just such a ridiculous farce of pretending like there's some kind of moral superiority from one party over the other, and pretending that because, you know, the West, we're the best and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah, one culture over the other, you should say, not one party.
Culture. Yeah. And look, at the end of the day, there is, I believe, there is issues with the way that we look at life and the way that you know, some of these people in these, like, I don't know if you want to call it like Islamic fundamentalists, which is like not really a real thing, but if like there's no better way to put it, you know, countries, like there is big differences the way that we value certain things that are just totally incompatible. But at the end of the day, our intervention there has done nothing to help them, and it's done nothing to fucking help us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just,
absolutely.
well, except for those certain few that get richer off war.
Yeah.
or of the results of a war. Like in terms of international relations between countries, definitely not, man. Like, you know,
Well, in terms of safety, like in
Yeah.
terms of safety, even like if you're looking at preventing future attacks, the last thing that you would want to be doing is to be fucking murdering children.
yeah.
I don't
like,
know. Like, if you had the chance to kill baby Hitler, would you do it? You know?
Yeah, but I
feel
wouldn't kill his 8 brothers and sisters.
If you didn't
And
know
some
which
other-
one was him.
You'd look at the birth certificate, like, you know when the guy was born, exactly what date and exactly where. As if he's not a twin. He's the one guy.
Can you imagine the adrenochrome on that guy?
That day.
On that baby?
Oh, so tasty. Maybe out of control. You get so high with that.
So anyway, just to finish off that fucking little point was Tulsi Gabbard came out and she's like basically from the Democratic Party. She's the only like real like anti-interventionist politician in the US. Just overall, Republican or Democrat. But she still came out after this happened and has been interviewed. And she like, I almost like, it's so sad because she's so good on everything else. But then when it comes to this one thing, she's like totally, in my mind anyway, totally wrong. Where when she was asked about the horror of what happened and where is the accountability for the US when it comes to having killed these 7 children, she starts talking about the fundamental difference between Islamic fundamentalists and how that their ideology can just never be okay with the West being free. And it's like, hold on, you just missed the entire fucking point.
You didn't even answer the question.
Well, it sounds like a political answer, man.
Yeah.
But I honestly think that these people are like that brainwashed that they just cannot even see past. Like, you guys get it straight away, right? Like, you totally understand the concept that if that was your child, you would go to hell and back to fucking make the people that did that pay.
Of course, yeah.
But I feel like even the people that have been in these combat zones just don't, like, they don't get that part of it. It's like, no, they're the enemy. It's an ideological enemy. And this is the thing that gets missed.
Yeah, but I suppose that's the same with like any kind of like you've got to, if you're going to have a military action or a one force versus another over any kind of ideology, really, you've got to have this mentality of like they are a nothing to us.
I agree, Biggie.
Like none of their death means anything, you know?
Yeah, or else how the fuck are you going to, like, mentally you can't do it, you know?
Yeah.
It has to.
Yeah, I mean,
hang on a minute. To me, it's like, hang on, that's still a child. Like that child still has no part in what these assholes who are shooting at me are part of. Like, that's not okay. Like,
yeah, and I'm sure that they didn't mean to kill that child. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
That wasn't their intent to murder that child.
Yeah,
but when it happens,
yeah, it still happened. That's, you know.
Yeah, feel shit about it, but
yeah.
So that's why I kind of like almost in a way anyway, I'm like from what you just said, like I almost like feel more sympathy for like the Vikings or like people that just used to rage like all out war where it was like, no, these people are my enemy. But like we try and dress it up and pretend that it's like a just thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
We like try and pretend like.
Yeah, I feel like they were a lot more honest in their like reasons for attacking some random place.
You
like,
got something I want.
These guys have like gold. Let's just go and take it off them. Like these days, if you're like, hey, these guys got tons of oil, we're just going to go and take it off them.
Yeah.
Like, that's not really an acceptable thing to do anymore.
Oh, excuse
Like,
me.
we've
You're
got
saying the quiet part out
treaties
loud.
and-
Please don't do that.
we've got treaties and stuff.
Well, it's because that, like, even if the government wants to operate that like that on a world scale, you can't have your citizens operating like that on a local scale, or else your fucking civilization goes into chaos.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. So like I don't know, I can keep going, but like I feel like I'm ranting a little bit.
Yeah. So like one of the other big things that happened during the war on terror, right, was the massive like increase in the amount of opium poppies and opium that was getting traded from Afghanistan. So like in 2000, I think it was like 2000, in year 2000. If you bring up that chart, have you that chart there, Mick?
Yeah. Let me.
Keep going, Biggie.
If you look at the year 2000, man, it dropped to like, I think it was like 8,000 hectares of opium poppies being grown. And then like, so that was like, if you look here, that's like when the Taliban is still kicking around, and they were keeping, like, although they were providing quite a lot of heroin, they were keeping the numbers quite low because the Taliban have like a zero tolerance for it.
Yeah.
So they just go in and like kill the farmer and burn his field.
Or at least burn his field, yeah.
Yeah. And so like the Taliban, if you look at 2001, right before the 9/11 attacks, had like fucking dropped the amount they were producing to like 8,000 hectares. 9/11 happens, the war on terror starts, and the following year they're up to like 74,000 hectares.
Can you zoom
worth
in a
of
little bit?
opium poppies.
Eh?
Can you zoom in a little bit?
It's just too blurry, man.
Yeah.
That's all good.
But yeah,
Blame
so
Biggie and his crappy JPEG.
What is it up to now, Biggie?
it's somewhere up. It's fucking huge.
Yeah, I can read it. Since the United States military occupation of Afghanistan in 2001, followed by NATO occupation in 2003, opium production has increased exponentially. Areas under Taliban control had zero production in 2001, Global Research, October 17th, 2018. Afghanistan is divided into 6 regions comprised of, I mean, it doesn't really give us that much information, but basically it's an exponential curve for anybody that's listening.
Yeah, 2017.
Fantastic news if you're a heroin addict.
Yeah, so
yeah, I mean, for sure. Or a pharmaceutical company, right?
Yeah.
Like, where are they getting all
the same thing, CK?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. So yeah, 329,000 hectares annually now, and that was as of 2017.
And they started at 0.
No, they started at 8.
8. 8 to 300.
That's basically 0. Like, that's pretty much 0.
Yeah.
Holy fuck, mate.
Yeah, they now provide
that's a lot of
90% of the world's opium and
90%.
95% of the European market.
Does Tasmania provide the other 10%?
Yeah.
Probably, bro. Or Russia.
It's either Tasmania or Russia.
Those are your 2 options.
It's basically the same climate.
Yeah.
There's more heads in Tasmania, though.
Not as many people.
No, way less people. Half the amount of people.
Yeah, dude. So you know, like, there's all those stories that I've heard from people talking about the US literally protecting, like, you can see it on video, dude. Like, protecting the fields, like protecting the opium fields from the Taliban.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. Well, you got to support your local farmer, CK. Come on, mate.
Yeah.
Hey, without farmers, the world stops.
That's
Look at
right.
this. Holy
Look at him
crap,
just
man.
walking through there. Like, you can't burn these beautiful flowers.
That's all heroin, basically. Like,
Yeah, which is
Delicious
crazy.
heroin. Oh.
Which is crazy, man, because they've actually spent a massive amount of money fighting the opium poppy in Afghanistan. I found this thing today that was
It's actually a really nice flower too, eh?
It is a super
That
nice
looks
flower.
really awesome. I wouldn't mind a field of opium flowers. Just the flowers, like.
yeah, well, winter's finished, man. Next winter. They
Yeah, I
reseed.
know. Too late.
Next year.
There's always next year. And until then, there's a valley. So, you know.
yeah.
Sorry, Biggie, what are you saying?
I thought you were saying about like you could grow your opium poppies in that valley behind your house, but you meant the valley is in
No, the valley, as in
the valley.
you can just go there and get heroin.
Fortitude Valley.
Why grow
Yeah,
opium
Fortitude.
when you can just go get straight heroin?
Yeah, pass.
Hmm.
Oh,
Hey, each to their own.
I like flowers, bro, but come on.
You like a beer, some people like a little bit of fucking heroin, mate.
Yeah, that's right. No judgment.
I'm
My
not judging.
policy is you don't yuck other people's yum. You know?
Mm.
If somebody likes something, look, that's fine, as long as they're being responsible with it.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah, that's being
Like, what's the
responsible
difference
with it.
between somebody like snorting a little bit of fucking heroin and you having some fucking mushrooms, mate? Like, zero. There's zero difference.
Oh, I'd say there's a bit of difference, bro.
What's the difference?
I'd say like physiologically, bro. Like as a
Physiologically, yeah.
heroin's a lot more addictive than mushrooms,
Oh yeah, for sure, it's more
That's
addictive.
true.
But yeah,
and
yeah,
that's it, man. That's
I'll
the
give you
biggest
that.
thing.
Yeah,
And
but
so-
if you're a responsible user,
Yeah, but like,
but if you're a
How
responsible
is-
user, because you can irresponsibly use mushrooms and you can irresponsibly use heroin.
yeah, I guess so, man. Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah, agreed.
But
Yeah, I mean, I genuinely don't see a difference. Like, but like, obviously, that's like I've had a lot of experience with people that do a lot of drugs, and like I've personally had a lot of experience with that stuff, and there's no difference, man. It really just does come down to the individual and your ability to manage. Yeah, it's just like an alcoholic, man. Like, there's people that cannot have one drink because if they have one drink, then that turns into 10 and into 20 and it turns into a bender. And
Yeah.
then all of a sudden your missus gets beat up and your kids have no dad because he's been locked up.
yeah,
You know, and what, we're going to like shame somebody because they want to have fucking a little bit of smack? Like, and go about their day. I just don't think that that's really that right, you know. But anyway,
The greatest podcast in the world. The greatest podcast in the world. Look at that boy band.
Friday nuts.
Rules that were available. Rules that were available.
Friday nuts.
Rules.
Look at that boy band.
Rules that were available.
Portly Gentlemen's Podcast.